You know, as the days tick by, I know that I said this yesterday. April 30th is going to be Donald Trump's 100th day in office, April 30th. It is April 22nd, and we have but 8 days in front of us until that I don't know. I don't know if it's significant. I don't know if it's just tradition that you want to see what the new president or second term president has done in their first 100 days of office. It's been something that we have counted down for quite some time. And I will tell you, like I have been saying, Donald Trump has been in office for less than 100 days. Our economy, according to the Wall Street Journal's front page today, is seeing the worst April than the Great Depression. Universities are filing lawsuits against the administration. A letter has been signed on by 150 university presidents condemning the Trump administration's desire to take over private institutions and challenge who they can let in, what classes that they can teach, and what kind of environment they can have. Donald Trump has shuttered institutions. He is calling out the Fed right now, Powell, to say, you're a big loser. And anytime that he says something, guess what? The market takes a dip. And every time that the market takes a dip, guess who gets to make money off of that? Those with extra cash that can, quote unquote, buy in the dip. We used to call that back in the day manipulating the markets. But in 100 days, less than 100 days, the amount of harm, trauma, and chaos that has been inflicted on this country will reverberate for generations to come. And it is extraordinary. Before Donald Trump came into office, we said it took Hitler 53 days to dismantle democracy. I think that our democracy will be a wrap by the time the summer solstice arrives. What do you all think? Well, it is time to get into the Danielle Moodie Show. So glad that you are here. Let's get started. So here we go. Like I said at the top, April 30th, next week, will be Donald Trump's 100th day in office. And the damage that he has inflicted, both emotionally and literally, on this country is going to be felt for generations to come. It's kind of extraordinary when you think about the amount of harm that can be done. You know, I wrote a piece over on my Substack a little bit ago. And if you have not subscribed to my Substack, please do. The Damn Digest over there, where I get into some really good analysis and writing, and I put up different kinds of videos. And I'm having live conversations like tomorrow. On Wednesday, 12 p.m. Eastern, is the check-in with my friend Jared Yates Sexton, who is the editor of Dispatches. So please do, if you have not subscribed, head over there as well. But let me tell you something. It's hard to wrap your mind around the destruction. And so today's show, which is Town Hall Tuesday. So for those of you that are new here, at the end of the show is Town Hall Tuesday, where you all get to ask me a good amount of questions for at least, 15 minutes towards the end. So do hold those questions until the end. But It's hard to think about what we never had to think about. And I feel like in the check-in that I did with Jared Sexton last week, our first one on Substack, we were talking about grief and we were talking about what it means to hold a lot of grief in this moment. And that show is not going to be about going through the headlines, but really processing how we're feeling. Because what capitalism demands of us is that we just grind it out like we are machines, that we just get through, right? That we don't, as a collective, ever process the trauma that we are under. And that's part and parcel of why we're here in this moment. So when you think about Donald Trump and just 92 days, 92 days, the disruption that has been caused. Because when I think about it, I think about someone, and some of you may know someone. I have lost a friend to cancer. I've lost family members to cancer, but I think about it. I think about Donald Trump like I do cancer. I think about it in the way in which one day you're totally fine, right? Maybe you're feeling a little aches and pains, but you're not really attributing it to much until you go into the doctor and you get a result that shocks the shit out of you. That all of a sudden you now have to deal with this disease that you've heard about, but that you've had no personal experience with. And all of a sudden, what was never a part of your life, what was never a part of your norm, is now all you can think about. It is what you're eating, who you're around, whether or not you're immunocompromised. What kind of cancer is it? What stage is it? What kind of treatment are you going to need? You know, all of these various things now become a part of your lexicon, your life on a daily basis that before that diagnosis, you'd never had to deal with firsthand. And how it rocks you, right? Like in your own personal earthquake. I think about Donald Trump and this second term in the same way. We never really had to think about democracy. We never really had to think about our role in democracy. Democracy kind of functioned in the way that breath does, without really any thought whatsoever. You only think about your breathing when you are struggling to breathe. Otherwise, unless you are a yogi or you're in deep meditation, it just kind of happens. Well, when your body is being taken over, right? When all of the good cells are being eaten up by the bad cells and your cancer is metastasizing, then all of a sudden you are thinking about all aspects of your body, how it's not functioning anymore, and what you can do and how quickly you can act in order to lengthen your time, your life, and get back to this place of health that you may or may not have taken for granted until it was on the line. So I think about this moment as November 5th being a diagnosis that American democracy caught cancer, a kind of rare form of cancer that we right now are thinking that it is probably terminal, but we're seeing a lot of specialists to try and wrap our minds around what can be done to lengthen our time, and not just lengthen our time, but can we eradicate all of the unhealthy cells and get back to a place of health and well-being? What is the mechanism? What is the tool or tools that we are going to be able to use in order to get well again? But the fact is that what I will talk about later in today's show before we get to some breaking news is that we can't pretend that we haven't gotten the diagnosis. We can't pretend that we're going to be able to just pray our way or vote our way out of this malignant tumor that has been placed at the center of our democracy. We have to gather our family, our friends, our specialists, right? Those that have seen this case before, and figure out, can we find our way out of this? Can we utilize all the tools and the things that we have been taught to understand about the power of the people? Can we eradicate America's cancer, which is Trumpism? That's the question that I'm posing for today's show. And we're going to go through a really important op-ed that is up at the Atlantic right now. And I know that not everybody has access to the Atlantic and has a subscription. So I wanted to build today's show around it because I thought that it was important for us to really dive into it. So I want you to think about, and I see a lot of folks in the chat talking about the fact that they are cancer survivors, and that this analogy that I'm offering makes a lot of sense. I think that I think analogies are important because I think they give us the ability to process information, uh, and really wrap our minds around something that is impossible, something that we never want to experience, which is the doctor pulling you into that room and saying, I have some news for you, right? And anybody that has gone through, that is a cancer survivor, they never think the same way again, right? They have a warrior's mentality. They have seen some shit and been through some shit and found their way to the other side. And so I think that it's important, right, to understand in so many ways what cancer can take from you, but what it can also open your eyes to, right? I lost a dear, dear friend of mine nearly 2 years ago at the very young age of 51. And she had lost her mother and her younger sister to cancer. And what I have learned through her transition is the importance of valuing our lives and making our lives count and living on purpose in the way that she did. I had never been to a celebration of life quite like hers. It was extraordinary. And I said to myself as I was sitting there, tears streaming down my eyes, and then we turned her celebration of life, which was just, I mean, this expression of poetry, music, readings, prayer, into a dance party later that night. And life is about grabbing your joy, right? About grabbing that joy and holding tight to it. And so what I learned from her transition was the value of every day and to give gratitude for it and what is worth fighting for. It takes a warrior's mindset, and that doesn't mean to be steeled, right? To be absent of feeling, but it means to know when you put on armor and when you take it off. And I think about that when I think about cancer survivors. And I also think about that when I think about those that have survived the loss of those that they loved. We're in a crucial moment here in America. We're at an inflection point. And we need to ask ourselves, what is worth fighting for? Because we don't have time if, in fact, we do believe that the diagnosis is bad, but it's not yet terminal, then we have to be asking ourselves and everyone around us, then what are we willing to do to fight for our lives? So before we dig in more to that, breaking news, dear friends, and actually before we even dig into that, if you have not subscribed to the Danielle Moodie Show, please do. Please do subscribe to this channel. As many of you know, I am careening to get to 25,000, hopefully, inshallah, by the end of May or as close to that as possible. And today, big announcement, we hit 23,000 subscribers. I am so excited and grateful for each and every one of you. Someone sent a message on my Substack and said, "Oh my God, Danielle, I've been with you since you were at 5,000. I can't believe how fast this is growing, and I'm so excited for you. I would not be here without all of your likes, your comments, and your subscribing. So please, if you are new here, take a moment, hit subscribe, and also hit the bell so that you never miss an episode. But I thank each and every single one of you. We are building here, damnation, and it makes me happy. And it gives me the strength to turn on the microphone each and every day. So I appreciate all of you. 23,000, no small feat, man. You know, like, look, I'm a child of immigrants, right? Brick by brick, man, step by step. That's how we do it. And I am very proud of what we are creating here. So appreciate y'all. All right. Breaking news, breaking news, breaking news. Somebody got some bad news today, boy. Woo! Tesla. Poor Elon. Poor, sad white nationalist. I'm sure he's somewhere in a ball, or at least I pray that he is. Tesla's 71% drop in profit may pressure Elon Musk to return to day job. The car maker reported the sharp decline in quarterly earnings after Tesla's brand suffered because of its chief executive's role in the Trump administration. What I find funny here, because the only news that I actually do watch these days, every once in a while, I will turn on CNBC because like I always say and joke, math was not my forte. I had to take economics twice and statistics twice in college in order to get my bachelor's in politics. So I am paying attention because I'm trying to let it seep in through osmosis, right? So I am watching and I'm paying attention to what is being said and trying to understand, different industries and different spaces and why their, stocks are priced the way that they are and what that has to do with like the global markets, all of these things. So Elon Musk, they had a call today. Yeah, the company said it earned $409 million, down from $1.4 billion in the first quarter of 2024. The company had previously reported net profit of $1.1 billion last year, but revised the figure to reflect changes in the way cryptocurrency assets are valued. So here's the thing that and I'm going to get to my thoughts and analysis on the news today and on Tesla's ratings. Tesla remains, this is according to the New York Times, Tesla remains the most valuable automaker in the world as measured by its stock price. I personally think that the stock price was inflated. So if you're basing the value on a stock price that was hyped up and inflated, can you really say that they're the most valuable automaker in the world? Wouldn't that be based on purchasing? I like, that's just me. And sells far more electric vehicles, get this, in the United States than any other country. But what's wild about this is that guess who was pushing green technologies and electric cars? The Biden administration. The Biden administration had put up policies that were saying that automakers were going to have to be a certain percentage green and electric by a certain year. So for a company that was already ahead of the curve, Tesla was in a great position under Biden and is in a great position for any government that is actually going to push electronic vehicles versus gas and be talking about and providing, I don't know, tax incentives and breaks for people to actually change their cars. So aligning yourself with the man that's trying to make coal great again and trying to make oil great again, how does that work for your push in this country that buys most of your vehicles? It doesn't make any sense to me. But again, I'm a person that focuses on logic, so there we are. But as the article states, its shares have lost about half their value since mid-December, as investors have grown more pessimistic about the company's prospects and concerned about Musk's role in the Trump administration. So here's my analysis real quick. What I find that this article talks about, and what everybody on CNBC was talking about, was Musk's role inside of Donald Trump's administration. Obviously, him running Doge, and by running Doge, you mean running the country into the ground, having fired hundreds of thousands of federal workers, having shuttered agencies like USAID, having, potentially and allegedly sold or given Russia free reign over the IRS data, et cetera, et cetera. And so they talk about, oh, well, he needs to leave the Trump administration, which apparently they're phrasing as if it's a hobby, and go back to his quote unquote day job at Tesla. The one thing that they don't, however, mention as one of the reasons why his brand is in the fucking trash would be this. Have we all forgotten? Right? Have we forgotten this very clear ideological pose that he offered to the world on Inauguration Day? Not once, but twice. Have we forgotten about that? So every time that they talk about the brand being tainted and the brand being bad, what they fail to offer as the reason is because Tesla's and the company has become a political image, a political message, right? If you in this day are driving a Tesla or are buying a Tesla new, then you are showing the world who and what you are aligned with. I recommend that if you have a Tesla, that you trade that shit in. And even today in New York City, there was insane vandalism that happened at the showroom in Manhattan. People using spray paint on the windows. And this isn't just happening in the United States. It's been happening around the world because guess who buys electric vehicles more than the United States? Europe. Guess whose elections he tried to interfere with as he did in the United States, in Germany's and in France's. And the people said no. So if you're going to have a conversation about where Tesla's stock is now and saying that he's going to need to go back to his day job, I actually, but again, not right, like not an economics major, but I'm going to tell you that I don't think that him going back to his day job is actually going to be the turn on that people think that it is, who own a shit ton of Tesla stock. I do not think that, I think that the only way, in my humble opinion, the only way that Tesla survives as a company is if they get rid of Elon Musk. He will still have a majority of his wealth tied up in the stock, so he will be fine. But if the company is to survive, I think that they need to get rid of him as CEO. I think he needs to be shown the exit. And I honestly don't know who you put in his place to have the horrible job of reviving that brand from the dead. I don't know. And again, Elon Musk not concerned about his inflated, bloated, grotesque income and net worth. Don't care. He's going to be fine. But if I'm looking at the company and you're thinking that putting him back to work full time is going to result in greater faith, I don't think so. But that's just me. All right, switching gears. Also, I'm on the lookout to see how long Lettucehead, aka Whiskey Leaks, aka Pete Hegseth, is going to stay in his job. Because anytime that, if you've realized over the past several years, whenever Donald Trump says that he has great faith in somebody, I swear to God, they're gone within weeks. Is that just me? I don't think so. But anytime that Donald Trump is having to repeat the fact that he has great faith and this person is doing a great job, Lettucehead, TikTok, TikTok. And speaking of TikTok, the title of today's show is America's Democracy is Running Out of Time. And what I said at the top is that there is an article that I wanted to bring to your attention, knowing that folks don't necessarily have access to subscriptions at The Atlantic and other places that I read from a lot of, a lot. And so whenever I can, I like to highlight those pieces and actually like work through them. Maybe it's a callback to my days as a teacher. But I really do like group reading and reading aloud together. I think it's a good way for people to ingest information. So there's a piece up right now at The Atlantic, entitled A Ticking Clock on American Freedom. Autocracy is no longer something that happens only in other countries. And it was written by the executive editor over at The Atlantic, Adrienne LaFrance. And this is how the piece starts off. She writes this: look around, take stock of where you are, and know this. Today, right now, and I mean right this second, you have the most power you'll ever have in the current fight against authoritarianism in America. If this sounds dramatic to you, it should. Over the past 5 months, in many hours of many conversations with multiple people who have lived under dictators and autocrats, one message came through loud and clear. America, you are running out of time. This is something that I feel like I have said many times on this show and many times on a myriad of shows. I think that a lot of Americans, going back to my analogy of democracy's death to cancer, right, to a cancer diagnosis, is that a lot of people seem to believe that they are going to be able to stick their heads in the sand and kind of ride this moment out. I remember, and people in my own family have said, oh, well, we made it through the first term, so it'll be fine. It'll be rocky, but it'll be totally fine. And I kept saying, it's not the same as the first term. In the first term, Donald Trump didn't know what he was doing. In the first term, he didn't have Project 2025. The first term was a clown car, right? Of people just rotating in and out and in and out. After 4 years, Donald Trump knew where all the pressure points were, knew what he needed to do and rid himself of in order to take power full on out. And that before the American people got a hold of what was happening, it would be too late. It's why we kept repeating over and over again how many days it took Hitler to dismantle democracy in Germany. Because people think that they have more time than they do. And what she lays out in her piece is that, no, the fuck you do not, actually. You are running out of time. Which is why the fact that these marches that are being done by 50-50-01, that are being put together by Indivisible, right? The oligarchy tour, that the Fight Oligarchy tour that is being done by Bernie Sanders and AOC. It's the reason why I am praying and hoping that more people and not less come out every single date that is presented. I will continue to stay and articulate, and I may write a piece about this later in the week, which is that we need a national strike. There has got to be not one-off disruption that happens on a Saturday. We have got to shut this shit down. But what the hands off, right? What these pop-offs are doing, what 50-50-01 is doing, and thank you, Susan, for putting this up. For folks, if you have not followed them on Blue Sky, you should absolutely follow them on Blue Sky and on Instagram and on whatever other platforms you are on so that you can stay up to date. But what is important, right, that needs to happen is that they have and are creating a steady drumbeat, right? I will throw up what Violet's drummer, what put up a steady drumbeat. Steady drumbeat awakens people little by little by little, right? You go place to place, moment to moment. More people wake up over the course of time. But what she is articulating in this piece is that we don't have all the time in the world. You see, there are still some Democrats that believe that we're going to have midterms in 2026. There may be elections, But the, I don't know, the virality of those elections, the truth of those elections. I mean, fucking Iran has elections. Turkey has elections. Election is just a day that you go and vote. Whether or not that vote matters, right, is another thing. So she writes this. People sometimes call the descent into authoritarianism a quote slide, but that makes it sound gradual and gentle. Maria Ressa, the journalist who earned the Nobel Peace Prize for her attempts to save freedom of expression in the Philippines, told me that what she experienced during the presidency of Rodrigo Duterte is now, with startling speed and remarkable similarity, playing out in the United States under Donald Trump. Her country's democratic struggles are highly instructive. And her message to me was this: authoritarian leaders topple democracy faster than you can imagine. If you wait to speak out against them, you have already lost. She goes on to write this: the chorus of people who have lived through democratic ruin will all tell you the same thing. Pay attention, folks. Do not make the mistake of assuming you still have time. Put another way, you think you can wait and see and keep democracy intact? Want to bet? Those who have seen democracy wrecked in their home country are sometimes derided as overly pessimistic. And it's understandable that they'd have a sense of inevitability about the dangers of autocracy. But that gloomy worldview does not make their warnings any less credible. Unless Trump's power is checked, and soon, things will get much worse very quickly. When people lose their freedoms, it can take a generation or more to claw them back, and that's if you're lucky. The fact is that many of us, Mary Trump, Wajahat Ali, Jared Yates, right? Jonathan Metzl, so many people, Glenn Kirshner, so many people that I speak to and have been speaking to on a regular basis on all of my shows. There was a reason why we'd been screaming from the rooftops about not re-electing Donald Trump, about believing in our hearts that if we just educated the public enough in all of our different ways and all of our different platforms with all of our different followers, that it would be enough. Because we knew that if he got in a second time, he was never fucking leaving. And because Americans have been schooled, or should I say indoctrinated into believing that autocracies and dictatorships are something that happens someplace else and is not anything that they need to worry about, that, oh, don't worry, this too shall pass. We have never experienced the type of chaos and dysfunction and the destruction of our government ever. Not in our modern times, and sure as fuck not in history. It's why the Wall Street Journal, owned by Rupert Murdoch's front page today, was saying that we are on track to have the worst April since the Great Depression. How that does not resonate with folks, I don't understand. I also don't understand. Well, I don't understand absolute greed, right? I don't understand the fact that you could be a CEO and a shareholder, and you think that you're going to continue to be able to grift off of the backs of your employees by giving them pennies on a dollar and thinking that they are going to in turn be as productive as possible, and give you what it is that you need in order for you to buy your fourth, fifth, and sixth home. Everything has always pointed to the fact that if you treat people well, good working conditions, healthcare, education, leave, pensions, 401k investments, right? Educational benefits, etc., etc. They will work overtime for you. So this idea that has become like just the beacon of the 20th century, which is that you just keep squeezing the working class enough and look at them as replaceable cogs in a machine, and thinking that eventually the whole fucking machine is not going to break down. It doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense. But then you have to understand that cancer doesn't really make sense to me, right? That it just consumes, and consumes until the host is dead. It's the same fucking mentality. Do you understand? Like, that's why I made the analogy of the oligarchy, Trumpism, and this insatiable greed that just eats and eats and eats until there is nothing. You cannot wait, much in the same way that you cannot wait and say, hey, cancer, I'd like you to leave now. You've killed enough of my cells. No, you got to blow that shit into oblivion with whatever modern science, Eastern science, all of it. You attack it from every single fucking angle. That's the same mentality that we need to have now. But then you come across these motherfuckers who were supposed to be a part of the zapping brigade. They're supposed to be one of the ones, right? One of the branches, the co-equal branches of government that are supposed to provide the fucking check, provide the zap. They are supposed to keep things in order. Can't really do that when, in fact, you have actually given the keys of destruction to the very predator we're trying to rid ourselves of, which is exactly what the Supreme Court did when they gave Donald Trump immunity. So I say this. I say this. It is important for us to understand and grapple with in this moment. If the courts are gone or hanging on by a thread, and the courts again can only enforce, they can only present rulings. They can't enforce that shit. Like, what the founding fathers didn't think about was, if somebody says, I don't care, or as Tom Homan, the border czar, said, I don't give a damn what the courts say. We're going to keep loading the planes, loading the planes, loading the planes. I don't give a fuck. What tool of enforcement are they going to be able to use? They don't have their own police. They don't have their own military. So if I give you deadlines, as a federal court did today, ICE has until 5 p.m. in order to reinstate the visas, the H-1B visas of international students that they summarily dismissed. Okay, so what happens at 5:01 when the Trump administration says, I don't give a fuck? Are you calling on the court police? Like, who is in charge? Hence the constitutional crisis that we find ourselves in. Adrian goes on to write this. The Trump administration's breakneck pace is obviously no accident. While citizens are busy processing their shock over any one shattered norm or disregarded law, Trump is already on to the next one. This is the playbook authoritarians have used all over the world. First, the leader removes those with expertise and independent thinking from government and replaces them with leaders who are arrogant, ignorant, and extremely loyal. Who does that sound like? Hegseth? Rubio? Vance? Gabbard? Patel? Next, he takes steps to centralize his power and claim unprecedented authority. I heard today on CNBC, well, why doesn't the president get to set the interest rates? Oh, I don't know. Maybe because the president isn't a fucking economist. Maybe because the president of the United States is a politician. Maybe because in order for democracies to survive, we need independence. But the very idea that the folks on CNBC were having a conversation about, well, what's the big deal? And then one of these analysts said, well, I think about the Fed the same way I do the Supreme Court. The president appoints the Supreme Court, but it's not like he sits there in a black robe and rules on cases. And I said, have you paid attention to this Supreme Court? Like, are we looking at the same Supreme Court? Because Donald Trump sure the fuck is sitting in a black robe. Are you kidding me? Along the way, he conducts an all-out assault on the truth so that truth tellers are distrusted, corruption becomes the norm, and questioning him becomes impossible. The Constitution bends and then finally breaks. This is what tyrants do. Trump is doing it now in the United States. She continues. The truth is, checks and balances work only when individuals are courageous enough to speak out. Before I go on with this one, courageous enough to speak out. Can we talk for a moment about Senator Murkowski? Can we talk about Lisa Murkowski? In a recent interview, talking about her fear in coming forward and saying certain things because of persecution. Can we talk about this powerful senator who's been elected 1,000,000 times over, not wanting to speak out, but people whose literal lives are on the line have no choice but to speak out and don't have the fucking wealth and protection that she does. But she wants to what? Cry us a river? And what we know is that even for her to say that chicken shit, right? Even for her to say that chicken shit, that was a risk for her. And she probably eventually fucking apologized for it because she's a punk. The truth is, as I was saying, checks and balances work only when individuals are courageous enough to speak out. Many American citizens, though, have been conspicuously quiet in the early days of Trump's second term. People like Kasparov and Ressa, who have lived through the flip to authoritarianism elsewhere, warn that this is a mistake, as do many scholars who have studied totalitarianism and dictatorships across history. At a time like this, Adrienne LaFrance writes, hesitation can mean the difference between freedom and tyranny. That is the moment that we are in. That is why I say continue to call your elected officials. Continue to join those marches and protests, particularly if you are white, not so much if you are black and brown. Why do I say that? Because Donald Trump is getting ready to roll out the tanks when a critical mass of black people and people of color show up. Eventually, we will have no choice. But right now, we do. Because for generations and centuries, we've put our bodies on the line for democracy. It's someone else's turn. The point being is that now is the time, because we are running out of time. So you call your members. You call members that aren't your members. You have your voices heard. I want to start to see sit-ins in these people's offices, in their district offices and on Capitol Hill. I want to see disruption on a regular basis. No one should just be easily enjoying their lives right now while the rest of us are fucking suffering. That is how we work our way to a national strike. You see what happens when one institution shows courage? Harvard, right now, is continuing to hang strong, even though there are rumblings from their donors to, quote unquote, make a deal with Donald Trump. I'm assuming that they said, fuck that deal, because they have filed a federal lawsuit yesterday against the Trump administration for their withholding of $2.2 billion, and now another $1 billion that they are going to withhold until they get Harvard to cave. And Harvard said, much in the same way China did, I see you that, and I raise you another fucking one. What has happened now since Harvard has come out is that 150 university presidents have signed on to a letter admonishing the Trump administration, because sometimes it takes one person, one institution in one right moment to say enough. So that is why courage matters. Our individual courage, but the courage that it takes to link arms. She goes on to write this: dangerous times call for high levels of both calm and courage. You need to assume the worst is going to happen and work backwards from there. People like to join the pack, and that's not always a bad thing. Strength in numbers is real. You need to create a community around you, not just for your own protection, but for everyone else's. Remember that facts still matter. Every individual who speaks out, every person who calls a lie, demonstrates fealty to the truth. Do not assume that your voice does not matter. It does. You also choose truth by what you read, how you choose to spend your time. If people no longer care about reality, authoritarians learn that they can do whatever they want. Put another way, if you lose reality, you lose the rule of law, you lose democracy, you are no longer free. This is why I came to YouTube. This is why I am working tirelessly to build damnation. It is not for my personal benefit. There are plenty of other things that I could do. that I am skilled at that wouldn't put, oh, I don't know, my life and my livelihood at risk. But I tell folks this, that for me, truth telling, being an educator to the masses is a calling. It is not something that I do because, oh, I want the numbers or because I want to be a fucking influencer. If I wanted to do that, I would sell skincare products. The fact is that I believe inherently in the truth. I believe in the power of democracy. I believe in the power of the people, all people united. I believe that we've been fed a bunch of lies to keep us disconnected from one another and fighting against one another for the scraps that the oligarchs leave behind. I believe that this horrible moment that we are in, for however long or short that it is going to be vital to what comes next. And I still believe that we have the ability to decide what comes next. We don't just have to wait around and be fucking told. That's not who America is. That's not the America that I envision in the future. So to be here is to believe in the truth, is to believe that you are not just passively listening or watching me, that you have decided to actively be a student of resistance, to be a student of democracy, and then think to yourself, what do I do with this information now? It isn't just to share with those that think like me. Where do I take this information next? How can I use it to be a springboard into conversations, into places and spaces that people like me can't go and are not welcome? This moment, while difficult, like any horrific diagnosis, tests the very fiber of who you are, who we are, and who we will become. Those that are strong are not just those that survive. They are those that committed to living for as long as they could. And not just living, but thriving in that life and teaching others through their journey what it means to truly live, thrive, pursue your version of happiness, and not just let life fucking happen to you. So, this is why this was the picture that I chose today of Donald Trump with his hands on the clock, dictating time to us. He is not the one that gets to dictate time to us. He is elected, he was not appointed. What comes in can damn sure be brought out. But it is up to us to decide that that is true. Adrian closes with this. It is easy to dismiss warnings about the demise of American freedoms as hyperbole or the darkest pessimism. But there's a paradox here. Those who have the greatest sense of urgency about the need to protect democracy in the United States, those who have seen firsthand how bad it can get and how quickly freedom can be snuffed out, they are optimists in their own way. We should listen to them, not only because they may be right, but because they recognize what Americans know in their bones to be true. This nation, these freedoms, they are sacred. They are ours, and it is not too late. Not yet, anyway. All right, dear friends. Now, with that, let's get into Town Hall Tuesday. Get your questions ready. Write questions in all capital letters, followed by your question, and I will do my best to get to them. Are you ready? I'm ready. Let's go. All right, welcome to Town Hall Tuesday. Question from Wisdom. How long does it take you to produce your daily show? Do you have help? What software do you need slash use? Um, how long does it take? Well, it depends. Like, are you talking about how long does it take to like actually physically put like my thoughts together? Because that could take a few hours. I go through the news and then I pick out what I think is most important. But more than that, I try and tell a story through the show. So I try and tell a story, grab a theme for the news. Do I have help? The universe, like the good Lord above. No, I don't have help. I do it myself. And what software do you use? Just basic shit on Google. I am, as the folks say, tech adjacent. I'm certain that there are other things that I could use. I really don't like AI, and I don't use AI, but I've been told that AI could be really helpful for a one woman band and one woman show that I am. But I don't know. I'm on the fence about it. But if you have recommendations on software that I should use and different ways to do things, I'm always open. But I am a one woman show, folks. A one woman show. Question. How do you manage, Samara? How do you manage the moral injury of watching multiple genocides happen around the world and not being able to do anything to stop it? This has been a major struggle of mine recently. I absolutely hear you. How do I manage it? I don't know. I think it was last week that I told you all that I was in tears most of the week, that I was having my own and existential breakdowns on a regular day, just feeling really down and feeling really, really hopeless. And so, how do I manage it? I try and focus on what I can. I cannot stop every genocide. I cannot stop every war. What I can do is lift up the voices of people who are trying to spread information. What I can do is bring attention. But we cannot take on the ills of everything, and we have to focus on what we can, and that also means like what heals us, and what brings us light and what brings us energy, because the despondence, the hopelessness can eat away at your ability to fight, and we cannot get to that place. Great question. Question, Edward Moore. Should Congress pass the SAVE Act to limit voting and Trump sign it? Do you think liberal states will defy it based on the 10th Amendment? No, I do not think that Congress should pass the SAVE Act. The SAVE Act would essentially deny, I don't know, 69% of women that have changed their last names to that of their partners from being able to vote, because what they are saying is that you either need a passport, which guess what, 140 million Americans don't have, or your birth certificate needs to match your license, which guess what, if you're married and you changed your name, guess what doesn't match. This is a horrible piece of legislation. It is a hammer looking for a nail that does not exist. We already have laws, federal laws on the books for those that violate the right to vote if you do not have it. This is the way to mass suppression that we have not seen since prior to the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act. Michael, question. What are your thoughts on David Hogg's pledged to fund younger and more effective Dem candidates in primaries. Sorry if you've spoken on this one already and I've missed it. No, you haven't missed it. I think I might have mentioned it when he announced it, which was late last week. And he said that he's doing it. He's going to be primarying Democrats in safe districts. And I think that that's really important. Is that the safe districts, because obviously you don't want to primary a Democrat that happens to be in a purple district. But I think it's a great idea. I think it's time that these people stop thinking that their fucking seats are going to be the ones that they die in, which is what we have seen, is that you need to actually fight for them, which it means that you get a report card. Right. And if your report card shows that you're not voting with democracy, you're not voting with your constituents who put you in office, then it's time for you to fucking go. So I'm all for it. Thank you for that question. Gus, question: is there any value in all the living ex-presidents speaking out forcefully and or together on the danger democracy currently is underway in America? Yes. Do I think that they will do that? No. I think that they have done it individually in their own kind of tepid ways. But do I think that you're going to meet Pierre? Say hi to the puppy that cannot wait for me to finish. Sit. Okay. So I think that it would be valuable. It would be a way to really radically shift the narrative if, in fact, they were to, let's say, hold a joint press conference, hold a series to actually talk about what is, what the issue is, what the danger is that we are in. But do I think that they're going to put their own safety at risk, as Donald Trump has gotten rid of security for people and, et cetera, et cetera? These are human beings. While they may have been elected at one time, they actually owe the country nothing moving forward. But I personally would like to see some action be taken, and collective action. Questions: what are your thoughts on Al Green? Is anyone listening or supporting his plea? I think that Al Green is amazing. I wished that more people coalesced around his action that he took, and that Democrats didn't vote alongside Republicans to censure him. But that's what Democrats do. They capitulate. So that's, again, going back to the David Hogg question, why I'm like, get these people the fuck out of there. Like, be gone. Olivia, how can your foreign audience help? I think that I don't know where you are coming in from, but I think that you all do help. I think you post, you share. What can you do? You can connect with friends, family that you may have in the United States. Give them information about if they are in a position and they do feel like they want to flee, where they can go to get easy visas. But continue to share about what your countries are doing to take action in this moment, because everyone is being affected. Is there any hope in hell Trump can be impeached? Is there any hope in hell that Republicans will discover their heart and have a moral compass? I don't think so. So no, I don't think so. Oh, this is very nice. Not a question, but I just want to say thank you, AP. Danielle, you are one of the most compelling teacher I have ever heard. I lose interest easily. Same. But I am riveted when listening to you. You have a special talent and gift, and we are all fortunate. Thank you very, very much. That means a lot. Appreciate you. Question: do you think that pressure should be on 13 scared MAGA senators to break from Trump so that we can reach 60 vote threshold to impeach? Yep. What did I say earlier? These people should not be comfortable, right? They should not just be casually able to go eat out without there being a group of people protesting them. And I mean, so safely, hands off, but yeah, people should be taking action. People should absolutely be pressuring them. The people in their district should be pressuring them. Democrats, right, who are in those states should be holding town halls and calling them out. right? Like, this is where coordination and action needs to be taken. So, yeah, I like that. Um, Pierre. Um, Pierre. Do you think the DNC and its corporate donors will allow David Hogg to carry through with funding? I do. We will see. He's going to do it, and I think that he will be able to raise money. And if they come out and say that they're not going to support him, I don't think that will bode well for them at all. At all. Um, Question, Richard. Do you get discouraged when you see Trump polls showing he still sits well above 40%? I mean, that's a lot of people who seem to approve of him despite all of that bullshit. Um, yes, but I feel like a lot of people, like, who is being polled? What questions are they being asked? Where is that poll taking place? Yes, I get discouraged, but I think at the end of the day, um, I'm more concerned with the people that aren't paying attention than the ones that are being called for polls. Um, oh, this is a good one. Vivian. Question: do you think Vance can command Trump's cult? Nope. I don't think anyone can command them, to be honest. No one has the charisma for all of the things that Donald Trump is. Like, let's be very clear. He is charismatic. He knows how to work the media. He purports to be an interesting character. The other people that he rolls out from central casting are all fucking duds. Like, on their own, they are duds. Like, they cannot hold the same water and the same attention that he does. So I don't know who comes in his stead. Many have said that it'll be his kids or one of his stupid sons that he puts up, which is what a lot of dictators do. They just appoint their the firstborn or whatever. So we'll see. You all are saying some really nice things about me in the comments. Good question. Light Wolf. Who will last longer, Musk or Hegseth? Or will it be a head of lettuce with a steel chair? That's a good one. This is good. I don't know. I don't think either of them are making it through the year. I think Hegseth goes first, and then I think Musk goes. I think Musk goes for all of the things I said at the top, because it's either that or he's going to be replaced as CEO. Because the company cannot withstand another quarters more like this. And they said, oh yeah, we're coming out with our new cheaper, electric vehicles. They didn't say when, they didn't say how, and like, how are the tariffs on steel and et cetera going to affect that? And again, you get most of your sales inside of the United States, and the United States doesn't really buy electric vehicles like that. So, we'll see. Time will tell. Have I ever visited Canada? Yes, I have. Montreal, and I loved it. It was beautiful. Reminded me very much of Paris. Question: what can blue states do when Trump does withhold federal funds hostage, when they won't comply with his agenda? Trans people or immigrants, assuming the courts don't hold. I mean, that is going to be up to blue state governors, and I believe that blue state governors should band together in terms of their trading, their economies. Again, this is about not what New York can do or what California can do, or what Pennsylvania can do on its own. It's what those states can do together and how much they command in terms of money that they give to the federal government, that they provide welfare to the red states. So if I am them, I'm thinking as a collaborative, knowing that this is coming and believing that if he comes for one of us, he will come for all of us. All right, friends, I'm coming to the end. Let's see if I can get one more question. One more question. Ooh. Becky, a question. Veterans are doing a protest. Maybe the big protest you want should be done on that day. Ooh, what day are the veterans doing a protest? Drop that link in the chat for people who are live now so folks can watch later. Again, folks, I just want to say a big hearty thank you, one, to the moderators who hold down the chat every single day, Monday through Thursday, and also Monday through Friday when we're doing Democracy-ish and at noon and on Mondays and Fridays, as well as the Danielle Moodie Show. I want to say thank you to all of you who show up here and have been showing up, and for just your support. 23,000. We got to 23,000 in just, a handful of months. And I'm really proud of that. I'm really proud of all of you who show up, who share, who like, who comment, who subscribe, who get other people to subscribe. I cannot do this alone. And we're trying to build community here, build power here so that we are not alone in this and alone in our hopelessness. So again, thank you so much to all of you. I appreciate you. I love Town Hall Tuesdays. They are one of my favorite days of the week. Again, if you have not already liked, commented, and subscribed, please do so. We are now on the quest for 25,000. And we will keep these numbers growing. We will keep talking. We will keep sharing. We will keep posting here. Again, if you have not subscribed to my Substack, The Damn Digest, and if you're looking for a way to support me monthly, monetarily, please do consider becoming a paid subscriber over on Substack. As always, dear friends, oh, thank you, Becky. June 6th is the Veterans Protest. Thank you for getting that information out to us. I appreciate you. Folks, as always, power to the people and to all the people power. Get woke, stay sane. And in these incredibly dangerous times, dear friends, do stay safe. I will see you. If you want to join the check-in tomorrow on Substack Live, 12 p.m. Eastern with me and Jared Yates Sexton. Otherwise, I'll see you back here tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern. Say goodbye, Pierre. Bye. Be well.